Hello and welcome. I'm currently in beautiful Slovenia, flying my LS4, a nice club class glider. There she is. I'm just about to start a little task, flying my LS4, and in today's video I would like to discuss in a previous video I talked to you, I'll try to convince you that virtual gliding is maybe something that you should try. So in this video I'm going to talk a little bit about how to get started. Specifically, I want to discuss what sort of hardware you would need, what sort of equipment you would need to get started, and also what sort of software. So what do you need to get started in visual guiding. I'm just about to start my task. Here we go. Just started the task. Not sure why my PDA did not start the task. Let me just fix that. There we go. That should be fixed. So, okay. So let's say that that I managed to convince you that virtual gliding is something that you should try. So you are probably wondering, okay, so this looks like fun. How do I get started? Well, the first very important point is that you need the software. You need the simulator. And the best glider simulator currently is Condor. You might be thinking, oh well, I've heard that there is a new version of Condor just about to be released. Yes, you're right, but you don't have to wait for the new version of Condor to be released. You can still buy Condor 2 and get the next version of Condor, Condor 3 for free. Developers have promised that if someone buys Condor 2 just before Condor 3 is released, they will get a free upgrade to Condor 3. So, head on to the Condor website, which has a shop, and buy yourself a copy of Condor. So after this, the first step, if you have a copy of Condor, well, what sort of equipment do you need to start flying? Well, as with everything, it just depends what you want to achieve and what sort of level of immersion you are really looking to. So if you don't really want to invest a lot of money to start with, if you just want to try and see where this whole journey will take you, the minimal requirement to fly in Condor is pretty much just a keyboard and a mouse or a trackpad. Yes, you might be, well, I was a bit surprised to hear that there are some really good Condor pilots who actually fly just with a mouse or even just with a trackpad on a laptop. Condor does not have a very high hardware requirements. It's not like Microsoft Flight Simulator, where you need probably something like 4090 graphics card, and not even without maxing out the settings, your frame rate will still be pretty low. With Condor, I currently use a 2080 graphics card, so relatively old card, and if I'm not recording videos, my performance is pretty good. So flying on the, and of course I'm flying with the VR headset, which greatly increases the requirements in terms of the hardware. But even with Quest 3 at maximum resolution, 2080 is enough to have a decent performance and pleasant flights. But if you are flying just on a flat screen on a monitor without using virtual headset, virtual reality headset, then Condor will run pretty well on relatively old graphics card. So the minimal requirement is just a PC or a laptop with a keyboard and mouse. Is that going to give you a high level of immersion? Well, in my opinion, not, but it's possible. So, what else? If you want to have a more immersive experience, what else do you need to fly in Condor? Well, I would say that you need at least a joystick. So flying with a joystick instead of a mouse, that should be a great improvement, and it should feel way more like flying a real glider than just using a mouse or a trackpad on a laptop. So you may be thinking, okay, but I know that to fly a glider, controlling the rudder with the rudder pedals is quite important. So if I just have a joystick, how do I do that? Well, you can either switch on something what's called an auto rudder in Condor Simulator. That means that you will just control the glider with the stick, and the rudder will be controlled automatically by Condor Simulator, which is of course not ideal, especially if you are thinking about flying gliders in the real world. I think that if you are thinking about starting training, or you are already in the middle of training, or if you are a real world glider pilot, then you should get yourself a set of rudder pedals. I'm not going to recommend any particular brands. Maybe I will address that in one of my future videos. But, well, some sort of rudder pedals will greatly improve the realism of flying the glider in Condor. So, we need a joystick, we need a rudder pedals. In terms of a joystick, I would say, again, any kind of joystick will do, but I think that it's quite helpful to have a joystick with a force feedback. A large number of Condor pilots uses a really old but still reasonably good joystick, which is called the Microsoft Sidewinder forced feedback tool. Those joysticks are pretty old now, but they still perform quite well, and of course you can't buy a new one, but you can search internet on different websites, like I don't think places like eBay, and you should still be able to get yourself a decent one. Well, luckily, the just recently, well, quite recently, we've got some newcomers to the market. More and more companies started to produce a force feedback joysticks. I know at least about one recently released by Moza Racing, so you can look into it. But those joysticks seems quite expensive, so maybe I wouldn't recommend them for somebody who is just starting and is not yet sure if you want to get hooked and will fly for a number of years to come. But definitely, if you are considering a joystick, as joystick with a force feedback greatly improves the immersiveness and immersion of flight. It also helps to control the glider because you cannot, well, you don't only see what the glider is doing, but you can actually feel it on a stick. So, for example, when you are just about to stall, the stick will become quite light, similarly to what happens in the real world. At very, very high speed, if you start exceeding the VNE and the glider enters flutter, again, a stick will shake quite violently, and you will be able to feel the fact that the glider is just about to lose its wings. So, stick preferably with force feedback and rudder pedals. Those things will allow you to control the glider with quite a high level of realism. Now, the next important thing is the visuals, like what you see while you fly a glider. I mentioned that you don't particularly need any fancy equipment, just a flat screen and relatively old graphics card will do. But well, real glider pilots, they're supposed to be looking around while they fly. So to perform a good lookout, normally when you fly on a flat screen, a lookout can be performed by, for example, a hat switch on the joystick. So by pressing the hat switch in different directions, the view will change and you will be just looking in a different, obviously in different directions. But as you can imagine, this is not particularly realistic or immersive. So in order to be able to look around more naturally, there's a couple of options. Well, first, if you are just using a flat screen and you don't want to go into virtual reality, and this could be for a variety of reasons, mostly due to medical conditions. If you've got some sort of a neck injury and just cannot move your head with relatively heavy headset on your head, then you could potentially try some sort of a head tracking device. One of them is IR. I forgot the name of it. IR tracker, I think is called. So this is a little device that consists of a camera and a source of infrared light that you put at your head, and this will then track the movements of your head. And as you move your head, the view on the monitor will change. Of course, the movement of the head can be amplified, so even a few degrees of movement will move the view by quite a lot, and this is a very effective way of flying in Condor. Before I started flying in virtual reality, I pretty much went through all the stages that I'm discussing today. So of course I started on the flat screen with just a hat switch to change the direction in which I'm looking in the virtual world. As I discovered head tracking devices, that was, well, that's changed the game completely. And I would highly recommend for anyone to try one of these head tracking solutions. And then we got initially the VR headsets were quite expensive. But in the recent years, I think that VR became more and more affordable, and nowadays it is possible to get a very good headset for a reasonably for a reasonable price. I used Quest 3. I did use Quest 2 for a while as well. I think that just Quest 3 is already a great improvement over something like IR tracker. Of course, with the VR goggles and the whole experience of flying a virtual glider is taken to the whole new level. And it feels very, very realistic. Of course, some people, you might be worried that, oh well, I don't particularly like, I tried VR a couple of times, I didn't feel very good, I don't know, I felt sick because again, this, especially for people who are not accustomed to using virtual reality headsets, this is the issue, and pretty much everybody that I know went through this stage after buying a virtual reality headset of not feeling particularly well while flying. For some people it was easier, some other people needed a little bit more time to adjust, but everybody that I know after flying in virtual reality for a little bit got used to the sensations, and well, now pretty much swears that, well, now just those guys who fly in virtual reality goggles would probably not fly at all if they couldn't fly in VR. So taking it from the flat screen to some sort of a head tracking device is a huge improvement, but then taking it to virtual reality is like a completely new level. Unfortunately, flying in virtual reality requires a slightly, well, not slightly, but actually better graphics card. But still, due to the fact that Condor's requirements are not that high, like I said, something like 2080 should be more than enough to have fun with Condor. So starting with just keyboard and the mouse, then moving through joystick. I must admit, I should probably mention the fact that rudder pedals, if you are not thinking about flying gliders in the real world and you don't necessarily want to invest in or go into rudder pedals, then it is possible to fly Condor with stick that is that you can twist. The twisting axis of the stick can be assigned to the rudder in Condor, and you can fly that that way as well. Again, I've been doing that for quite a while, and well, you can fly perfectly fine in Condor with a stick with the twisting axis. But of course, again, like I said, if you are thinking about flying in the real world, you should invest in and buy rudder pedals to make sure that the way you react in Condor is very similar or the same as you would in a real glider. So we've got a joystick, we've got rudder pedals, and preferably VR headsets, and that's about it in terms of the hardware. Again, depending on what sort of quality of equipment you want to get, this could be more or less expensive, but I believe that anybody who wants to have that sort of setup should be able to find a reasonable options. In terms of the software, you don't really need anything else apart from just Condor Simulator. Maybe if you are thinking about flying in a virtual gliding competitions, especially in the mountains. Like I am currently flying here on the border between Slovenia and Austria. You may want to have some sort of a flight computer. I'm currently using here an LK8000, which is a free software. This is not the only option. You can also use, for example, soar. It's very easy to get it into a virtual cockpit, and one of the advantages is that you can make it as big as you like. A Condor has its own little PDA over there, but I don't think that it's great for navigation, especially in the mountains. Some people swear by it. They say that they don't need and don't want to have an additional computer in the cockpit. I personally think that something like LK8000 is very, very useful. And if you've got a real glider, maybe with an LX computer in it, which is probably the most popular brand, well, good news. Condor 3 will actually have LX computer built in. So that's going to be another, maybe another, this could be another reason why you may want to buy Condor, which is to be able to practice flying with your LX flight computer. I think that I'm high enough now to go to the next turn point. Of course, I'm not focusing too much on my flying today, as I'm just talking to you about equipment and how to get started with Condor. So, yeah, LK8000 or maybe soar. Very easy to get into a virtual cockpit if you are using one of the Quest or Oculus headsets. Unfortunately, I cannot comment on some other high-end headsets, like maybe things like Pimax Crystal. Condor natively works really well with the Oculus headsets, and I know that some pilots are successfully using non-Oculus headsets with Condor, but unfortunately I've never tried it myself, so I can't really comment on how easy or difficult it is to get Condor running on one of those headsets. The only thing I know that, for example, Pimax Crystal has a much higher resolution than Oculus Quest 3. Apart from that, the image is not compressed because it's just connected with the cable directly to the display port on the graphics card. So the image, there is no need for the compression. So due to the high resolution and no compression, I'm guessing that the image quality is probably quite spectacular. But even in Quest 3, the visuals are great, and it's really fun to fly. I think that that's pretty much in terms of what you need in terms of hardware and software to fly in Condor. Of course, you could take it to another level by maybe getting some sort of a dedicated simulator. I know that clubs are building simulators using cockpits from old gliders or damaged gliders, or you can just set it up with DIY methods or commercially available. You could also buy a commercially available dedicated glider simulator. But of course, now we are talking about things which are quite expensive. I did put together a little DIY cockpit for myself. Maybe in the future videos I'll talk a little bit more about it, but it's not necessary. Just a joystick on the desk, a comfortable chair, rudder pedals and VR goggles are more than enough to have great fun with Condor, and that's what I guess majority of the Condor pilots are using. I know that in my previous video my previous video was quite jittery, which just shows how much head movements that glider pilots actually do while flying. Today I'm trying to control myself to move my head a little bit less than in the previous video. So I hope first that this video will be a little bit more pleasant to watch, and secondly, I hope that just shows, comparing the two videos, that just shows how much of an advantage a virtual headset actually gives. Because normally if you had to adjust your view with just a hard switch on your joystick, I am pretty sure that you would not be changing your view continuously like you do when you fly with VR headset or with some sort of a head tracking device. Now after passing this final mountain pass over here, we should be on the final ride. My glide computer reports that I should be reaching the finish line at McGreevy 3.4. I'm currently flying at McGreevy 2.8, so I should be easily reaching the finish line. This is something that I talked about in my previous video. If you want to fly in Slovenia, now you know that after passing this particular mountain ridge, you should be able to reach an airfield in Bled. I think that I've more or less exhausted the topic of the equipment required to start flying in Condor, so I'm not going to bore you with the remaining of that flight. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.